Welcome back to another Telltale Books video, continuing my Theodore Sturgeon series with his fifth published work, a short story titled The Other Cheek. If you're new to Telltale Books is primarily a channel about all things literature. We do have a heavy science fiction, fantasy, and horror focus, though we do also read a lot of other literature. We publish a lot of videos because I do a lot of reading. Occasionally, Emily Schmidt, my partner, is able to join me, though she doesn't do as much reading. So a lot of these review videos like this one, she doesn't join me for. She just doesn't have the time to do that much reading. And once in a while, we'll do some poetry readings, but always public domain works. We do not do readings. We do not do audiobooks, especially of anything that is copyrighted material. It is illegal. We will not participate in anything that takes away from any other artists, and that's just the way it is. We like to abide by that. We support all creative people and believe that they should be profiting by their work, not us. But we do these videos to help guide you through your journey through literature, especially in trying to discover works that are hard to find, hard to dig through all the marketing and all the hype of other things and all the people that state their opinions. There's a lot of works that are falling by the wayside and not being seen anymore, not being heard from anymore. And Emily and I have found that a lot of these works are worth preserving. They're worth our attention. They're worth our time. They're worth reading and talking about and keeping active in the um, in the works of literature that we today are paying attention to. So that's a little bit about us. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like our mission that I just described, hit the subscribe button and come on back for more, because there'll be a lot more following this one. And this video, I'm talking specifically about The Other Cheek, a short story by Theodore Sturgeon, who is best known as a science fiction and fantasy writer from the golden age of science fiction. Before he wrote any science fiction, he published a number of short stories, primarily for the McClure newspaper syndicate, which is who he sold this story to, and it appeared in newspapers all over the country through the syndicate on April 10th, 1939. I like to talk about the books that I find these things in, and especially try to guide you towards where you may be able to find these stories. I read this story, and the only place where I am aware that they're available, these early Sturgeon works are available, a book called The Ultimate Egoist, which is volume 1 of the complete stories of Theodore Sturgeon. It was published by North Atlantic Books. These books are now out of print, but starting in the 1990s, this has a, come on, where's the copyright date? This has a copyright date of 1994. Okay, so it's been out of print for a while, but there are used copies available. They're pretty collectible though, so it might be pricey, but if you love Theodore Sturgeon, you really need to get the whole series. I think there were 13 or 14 volumes published ultimately before they completed it. And, his career encompasses a lot of great short works as well as some novels. And I mean, Sturgeon is one of the greats. So The Ultimate Egoist And the story of the other cheek, it's about a man who has a pair of cufflinks. And these cufflinks are important to him. I forget exactly why. They were given to him, and he hangs on to them. But he wasn't wearing them. He just had them in his pocket or something, and he gets into an accident. He's talking to the other driver, and they fall out. He pulls his wallet out. The cufflinks fall out of his pocket onto the ground. And when he realizes they've fallen out, he looks around and they're not there. And that's because somebody who he didn't see sweeps in and steals them from off the ground. Well, these cufflinks are important. He wants to get revenge for this. He wants to find out who it was. He wants to track them down. He wants to make them pay. And so he searches and searches and searches, fruitlessly, of course, until one day he's kind of given up looking for them, but still hasn't forgotten about this. He meets a guy who owns a whole chain of restaurants, and this guy relates the story of how the restaurants got started by him having the luck of picking up a pair of cufflinks off the ground. And so the man who originally owned the cufflinks realizes that this person who was a poor kid with no hope had his entire life turned around and made great and made good by having found this pair of cufflinks on the ground. It's a story that teaches a lesson, but Sturgeon doesn't preach at you. It's not a blatantly lesson story. I mean, you know when you're done with it that there was a lesson there about living and forgiving, but it's not shoved down your throat. Sturgeon is a very, very good writer already, even at this early in his career, and makes his story extremely enjoyable. Good characters, good plot, good point. This is a wonderful little story. I'm not going to give it top tail status. I didn't think it was that great, but it really was a very enjoyable story. And obviously, if you're a Sturgeon completist, you need to read this story. Other people, a lot of our audience is into science fiction. It's not science fiction. It's not fantasy. It's more like literary fiction, but it's an excellent little story and worth your time if you can find a copy of it somewhere to sit down and read it. It's not very long. It's a few pages. It's a short story. So, have you read The Other Cheek? If so, leave your comments. I want to hear your thoughts about this story and about Theodore Sturgeon in particular. And come on back. If you want to pay attention because we've got more of these coming. There's quite a few of these little stories that he wrote with McClure's before he published Ether Breather in September of 1939. And we're in April. In just a handful of months, there's like more than 10 stories that we need to get through yet. So number 6 will be a story titled One Sick Kid. And after reading The Other Cheek and Watch My Smoke, I'm looking forward to One Sick Kid, and I hope you are too and will join me.